Welcome everyone to our session today. We're going to be talking about Microsoft Edge. I know there's a kind of a mix of people in the crowd probably that are using different browsers, but we're going to be specifically referring to Edge today. And there's definitely some benefits to using Microsoft Edge. So when we talk about an internet browser, an internet browser is what we use to access the internet. It's an app that we use. And I'm using Microsoft Edge because for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is I like all the bells and whistles that we're going to be discussing here today. There's a lot of different tools we have available that are built in. Plus, one of my favorite things is the connectivity to our Microsoft account. So if you are a Microsoft user, you have Microsoft 365. If you're a Copilot user, we have additional tools that are built in that allow us to take advantage of our Microsoft account and our Copilot account. So that's one of the reasons that I really like it. Plus, I love the results that I get when I am using Microsoft Edge. So just a couple of things that I wanted to mention about Microsoft Edge. And by the way, there's information in your handout as well, which was in the chat for you there. In the handout, you're going to see some information about really kind of starting out comparing other browsers to Microsoft Edge. So Edge does have the same Chromium speed and capabilities that Google Chrome does. Another one that's very popular is Firefox. These are the three main internet browsers that people use, but for search capabilities, and this is where it's kind of weird, but when you go to search for something, you can use a different search engine. So a search engine is a website that you go to. The browser is what we use to go to the internet. You can't get to the internet without using a browser. So if you want to search for something, you use a search engine. Now, I happen to use the built-in search capabilities of Bing in Microsoft Edge because Bing is really kind of my go-to that is connected to Copilot. And I want that connectivity because I'm using Microsoft apps. I'm using Excel, I'm using Word, I'm using PowerPoint. And when I'm using all these Microsoft products together, we have different capabilities. So when we think about an Edge, we think about Chrome, we think about Firefox. Microsoft does have very strong security, but I really can't say anything bad about Google Chrome because Google Chrome does have some features that are similar to Edge. It does have a built-in AI tool, which of course we'll be talking about Copilot today, but it does have those very similar capabilities. So I do like Chrome, but I have really just been using Microsoft Edge these days because of my connectivity with Copilot. Now, Firefox does have some capabilities, but nothing like you would ever get with Google or Microsoft. It's just kind of a standby, I'm going to get you to the internet, but I don't have a lot of other details that I can do. So anyway, we're going to be just specifically talking about Edge here today. So when it comes to using Microsoft Edge, I do want to go through a couple of things with you that we're going to be talking about. So Microsoft Edge has these features plus more that I didn't even put into your handout. I might mention some of these, but it is amazing the different tools that we have available. Yes, we can use it to search the internet to find information, but like the title of this session, it goes way beyond just your standard searching on the internet. We have a feature called Collections that we're going to be doing today, which is a shareable with a coworker capability. We have vertical tabs and tab grouping that we can be using. We have a feature called Workspaces. We can even split our screen. We have immersive reading. We also can have it read out loud to us. And as I have mentioned a couple of different times already, we also have the Copilot capability. But just a little description of each of these before we dive in and take a look at demonstrations of how to use these features. What exactly are collections? Well, collections are very similar to why they're named this. They are a way that we can actually take information and organize and save content. But the best part about that is the content that we organize and save together can actually be shared with other people. We can export the information to a spreadsheet, to a Word document, those kind of things. But the big part is the sharing. So when we're working in these different collections, we can add people to the collections where they're actually going to be able, if I add a tab or I add a file to the collection, whoever I'm sharing this collection with has immediate access to the information. Plus, if they share let's say that they were searching on the internet for something and they want to add it to the collection. They can add information to the collected items and it's live to me. I would be able to see it right away. So I think this is something that not enough people are taking advantage of, but I got to tell you, this is awesome. It is one of my favorite features in Microsoft Edge. But I use tab groups all the time as well. Tab groups are a way that, and I don't know if you've done this, but there'll be times that I am looking up this information and I have 5 tabs related to it. But then I get sidetracked and I have to look up other information about something totally different. And I'm going to have 3 tabs open related to whatever I'm looking up. Tabs can be grouped together. So we can organize multiple tabs together and even color code them so that we can be going back and forth in between the different groups of tabs. We could take a tab from one group, drag it to another group. So we have the ability of having these different tabs. But you know how normally when you open a tab on a browser, it opens across the top as actual tabs going across the top? Well, we do have the capability of also changing from horizontal to vertical tabs. So especially when it comes to grouping these tabs together, I sometimes will turn them into vertical tabs. They'll go down the left-hand side instead of going across the top. So just so you know, it's some space saving type capabilities that we can get with these vertical tabs. Not everybody is going to like them. It's kind of people usually tell me it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes people love it and they use vertical tabs all the time. But some people say, I'm just so used to them being across the top. It's going to be totally up to you. But I love being able to group these tabs together. But when we close, they're gone. They will be gone. So there is another feature that we can actually use, which takes what I was mentioning with collections where we can collect different things. I kind of said a couple of things wrong. Let me explain. I said a couple of things about collections that is really workspaces. I was, in the back of my mind, I was thinking workspaces when I was describing collections. But what exactly are workspaces? Workspaces is that real-time collaboration that I was mentioning. We don't really do that in collections. Sorry, that was totally my misspeaking there. Sorry about that. But both allow us to stay organized and be able to go back to information that we were looking up earlier. Now, I will demonstrate the difference between those so you can actually see that. But the benefit of the workspaces is the huge part for me is I share it with other people. So whether we're working on researching information, we're going to be doing a meeting, we want to do a planning session, those types of things, workspaces are wonderful for that. So I will demonstrate both so you can see the difference between the two. And they have some similarities, but the way that they work really is different. So just kind of a little comparison between workspaces versus collections. Workspaces is a set of open tabs that we can share with other people just by giving them a link to it. They can then, so if I add a tab to the workspace, it's going to be instant for them. Or whoever I shared it with, if they add a tab to the workspace, I'll see it automatically. So the browser window is shared with your coworkers, whoever it is that you want to share it with. Collections allow you to save a group of pages that you have found within Edge. You know how you could save favorites? It's like that, but better. And you'll see that I'll show you the difference between that. But just so you know, we have this other feature called collections, where it's not like grouping the tabs together and then once we close the browser, they're gone. This is going to be a place where we can save pages of information. Okay? Tab groups can be named, but then once we close it, they're going to be gone. So we'll talk a little bit more about how all that is going to work for us as we go through the different options. So we're going to be starting with collections. Collections is what I use for a lot of different purposes. So let me show you a few examples. You know what? Before we get started, I might need to show you a couple of things about Microsoft Edge first before we kind of dive into these features. But every user can have different settings, and some of these settings may not be turned on. So when we go to use things like collections, if you don't see the icon, you can't use it. Some will have keyboard shortcuts that we can use, but if you don't see a feature, it could be because it's just not turned on. It's available, but it's just like settings on your computer. Sometimes we have to turn them on or turn them off. So I'm going to do I'm going to do the settings for Edge first. Now I'll talk about two different types of settings. First, I'm actually going to go to the top right of my browser next to my profile. And by the way, I'm logged in with my business account to my Microsoft Edge, okay, because I'm using business related features that I want to share my workspaces and things like that. But just so you know, at the top right, go to the dot, dot, dot. From there, you have a lot of different features you can access, like your favorites. You could go into your history, your tab groups. I could create a new group from there. We have some multiple ways to do the same things in a lot of places. But I'm going to really go down to the very bottom here, and I'm going to click on settings. Once you open up the settings, you're actually in a new tab in your browser. On the left-hand side will be all of your different categories. If you've never been in here, I highly recommend before you start looking for these features I'm going to demonstrate, before you start using it, some of these other things, come in here first. It's the last part of your handout. I should have put it at the beginning of your handout, but I didn't think about that when I created it. But you definitely want to come into the settings and make sure things are turned on or turned off according to what you want to use. So first off, it just is in my profile. So I'm in my business profile. I could make some changes to my profile. Passwords, you have, of course, access to those on the left-hand side. But if I go to this privacy search and services, this is where you can maintain a lot of things within your browser, like tracking prevention. You could clear your browser data. You have your privacy, your security, cookies, those types of security measures. I really want to go to appearances, or appearance, I should say. Up at the top, what buttons do you want to see? I like having my home button, which always takes you back to your home page of your browser. Your tab actions menu. You can, if you click on that, by the way, you're going to see it gives you different choices here. Show tab actions menu, hide vertical bar when using hide title bar when using vertical tabs. Show vertical tabs is an option. We have multiple ways to get to that. So just so you could see, we can browse back and forth in between these different capabilities. So change your appearance, change the theme you're using, all those other things that everybody could do. But for me, it's really kind of down under the other appearance settings. I want to go to things like the toolbar. What buttons do I want turned on and turned off? So you could see that I don't have collections turned on. So if I click collections, it now is going to be available on my tab at the top right. So you can kind of see the icon from here, and it added it as a tab to my top right. So if you don't see something, it could be because it's not turned on. So you might want to run through this a little bit to see if your features are turned on or turned off. We even have the capability of doing screenshots. I use screenshots all the time. I have a key on my keyboard I can use, but sometimes I do it right from my browser if I'm in my browser. So just so you could see, you want to come into the appearance to turn things on and off. Also on the left-hand side, where if you go to the category for Start, Home, and New tab, you could choose different settings for what it is that you want for what. Like, for me, the home page. Do I want the home button on the toolbar to go to a specific site? Like, let's say that I wanted to go to Bing. Every time that I click that home icon, I want it to go to Bing. I can say set custom site and then choose what site I want it to be. By the way, some companies will have their intranet or their company website as the home page, so that when you open your browser, what do you want it to open to? Up at the top, you could have it open to a custom site, and then I can have my home icon as a different site. So it kind of depends on how you want to have things set up. Now, of course, you also have your favorites bar, which I take full advantage of, as you can see from my favorites bar at the top. I have a lot of different things on my favorites bar. So anyway, make sure that you're customizing this to work with you, not against you. You want it to be set up for what it is you need access to, what's going to work best for you. Okay? So with that being said, I'm done with all my settings. I'm going to go back and I want to start demonstrating some of the capabilities that I have with Microsoft Edge. So I had first mentioned collections. So collections can be exported, where we could actually take the information from a collection and put it into Word, put it into Excel. We can make reports. We can do brainstorming. There's a lot of different things that we could do with these collections. So how do we get to collections? Collections can be opened multiple ways, like we have with other features. And by the way, Microsoft is in the process of making some changes. They're adding additional capabilities with a lot of these features. Not all of it will be released here in this next month, but by the end of the year and the beginning of 2026, we will have a lot more capabilities with all of these features, including, of course, when we talk about using Copilot, they're enhancing the capabilities of Copilot within our browser as well. They've really made some major changes since the beginning of this year already. So if you have not been an Edge user, you really want to check it out. So let's see a couple of other things that I wanted to do. So first off, let me actually go to the internet. So if I just go straight to a new tab, right now my new tab is opening up to this MSN. If I go to the top right, just so you could see, there's a gears icon when I'm at this page where I can click on page settings. So besides having the Edge settings, I can actually go to a page settings as well. So you could see that I could change turn things on, turn things off. I can change content settings. So make sure you're doing those types of things. I know people say it's very frustrating when we go to some browsers and different things, some applications that we're using, because they're really kind of set up for certain things that aren't beneficial to everybody. So make sure that you are changing things for your usage. But depending on the features that you have turned on and turned off, I'm going to start on the left-hand side of the screen. Left-hand side of the screen, I'll have an icon at the very top left for workspaces. Then I'm going to have this tabs actions menu. From that tabs actions menu, I could turn on vertical tabs. I could search my tabs that I have open. I could organize my tabs. You could see I've got a lot of different workspace related and tab related features because they are the tab settings. But at the left-hand side of my favorites bar, so when you look at my favorites bar going across the top, I have this tabs groups. So just so you are recognizing some of the icons to begin with. So I'm going to switch gears and go over to the right-hand side of this now. And if I go across where the address bar is, you could see, of course, we have the star for adding a page to be a favorite so that we can quickly and easily get back to it. But you're going to see that we also have an extensions icon, which I don't usually see. I could go into my favorites based on the icons that I have, but I want you to see if you have the one with, looks like two squares and then there's a plus sign. That's going to be the collections. When you click collections, it will show you any of your existing collections, or it will give you the ability of creating a start new collection. First, I'm going to show you one that I already have started. So this one is called HR Hiring. It has 5 items in this collection. You could see that I have this search that I saved, which is called HR New Hiring Process. I saved that as part of this workspace so that I could come back to them. It groups together the pages. I can come back and add a page at any time as I'm doing my searching. But notice that I also have a few other things. This is where it says sharepoint.com. This is actually a link to my Microsoft account. I also have this added to my collections, which is an Excel file. I happen to have I was using the online version of Excel. And because it was a tab at the top, I could add it to my collection. So these are things that are all related to whatever I name this collection, where this was talking about new hiring process. So if I go to the search in a normal internet browser kind of a situation when you go to search, and I'm looking for information about hiring processes. I'm going to hire some new employees and I want to get some new information about the hiring process. So I could come in and here's something on time management related to the hiring process. And if I want this information, this happens to be training material, but if whatever I come into, if I want this to be part of that collection that I was using, I can simply go back to the icon at the top right for collections. And I'm in the hiring because that was the one I was just in. And I could say add current page. Doesn't matter what the page is. Like I said, I could have an Excel file open through the internet browser. If I click add current page, it's going to add it automatically to this collection. So that as I'm going out and I'm looking for information, I don't need to save it as a favorite because when I'm done, I can come back and delete this collection. I don't need to keep it. I don't want it to be part of my favorites because it's not something that I'm going to, come back to all the time. It's not a website. It's a collection of sites. Now, if you're familiar with your favorites, you could create a folder and put favorites in it, but these aren't things I want to keep forever. So this is a different way that we can collect Excel files, Word documents, whatever it is that I open in a tab can be easy to get to by having them in this collection. So if I want to go back to something else that I added to this collection, all I do is click on it from that collections window and it automatically takes me back to whatever it was. So this happens to be a notebook, a OneNote notebook that I had added to that collection. But if I go back to those collections again, which by the way, I can pin this and have it be permanently open on the right-hand side, because if I'm going to be using it a lot, I just click the push pin and now it's open on my right-hand side so I don't have to keep going back to the icon. Because what if I want to go to this document? I can click on this collected item and it automatically takes me here. So maybe I want to go back to this search that I had done earlier that I put as part of my collection, this HR new hiring process search that I did in Bing. It allows me to bounce back and forth in between all of that as I'm collecting information. So notice right now I have all these different tabs open on the browser. I'm going to close a couple of these tabs. So I'm going to close all of those tabs. And in my collections on the right-hand side, I'm going to click the back arrow. The back arrow takes me back to the main menu of the collections, the whole feature called collections. If I want to start a new collection, I can click Start New Collection. I would then give it a name. So let's say that I'm going to be putting together some information on Teams, Microsoft Teams. I could come out here and maybe I even want to call it Microsoft Teams. So anyway, I'll abbreviate for now. Just so you can see, I can give it a name, and as soon as I press enter, I can start taking any of the tabs as I'm browsing and start adding those to be whatever current page I'm on can be collected with this other information. So whatever I named it, I can collect items that are related to that. So if I go to another tab and I'm reading information and it says create an article and I'm reading this detail, I can go to my collections on the right-hand side and click add current page. So it's collecting these different pages to be a part of the collection. But notice in the collections pane on the right-hand side, it's got a paper, looks like a little sticky note. You can click on that to add a note to this collection. It gives you a little sticky note that has a few different tabs at the top that you could use to bold, italic, do a bulleted list. But here is where I can brainstorm and take notes. Blah, blah, blah. I can put in a note. When I'm done, I click my little check mark icon, and that note now is a part of this collections. So it's a way that I can kind of be jotting down different notes and things like that. But also at the top right of this collections pane of the window, there's a dot, dot, dot. From there, I could send, so this is where collections is pretty cool. I could send the information to OneNote. I could send it to Word. I could send it to Excel. I could also sort. I also have copy all or open all, just so you could see it's a great feature. I'm going to go to the top right and click on the X to close collections because we're going to run out of time very quickly and I want to make sure I have access to getting to everything that we want to cover here today. So another option that we have is as you are doing your browsing, you could be grouping tabs together based on what it is that you're currently working on. So let's say that I have two different subjects that I'm doing searching on. I'm going to go to, so right now I have these three tabs open and they're all Microsoft Teams related. And I'm going to go to a new tab and let's say that I'm going to look up newest HP printers. And it's going to bring up some different things that I could go into. So I'm going to go into the HP website, and then I'm going to go back to my search history, and maybe I want to go into this review to review different information about whatever that product or service or whatever it is. And I'm going to start to get all these different tabs, but some of my tabs might be in a different order. Like I might have a tab here, a tab here, a tab here, a tab here, and they're disorganized and I have to keep worried about, okay, where do I go to find the information that was related to Teams versus the stuff that was related to HP printers and things like that. Well, grouping your tabs together is going to be a great option to do, but you can move your tabs around. So just so you can see, I can click and drag and move my tabs around, but I still don't know which tabs are related to which topic I'm doing. It doesn't help me. So one of the things that we could do is we could go to the Tab Actions menu on the left-hand side, and we could organize our tabs. We could search. We could even bring in tabs from another device. So if I had my phone connected and I was doing some searching on my phone and I want to move that tab into here, we could definitely do that. So just so you know, you could get tabs from other places. But what I'm going to do is also I could do a right click. Just so you know, there's lots of ways to do the same things. If you right click on a tab, you could see new tab to the right. You can add a tab to a new group. You have duplicate tabs because maybe you want to go to something else. Just so you can see, there's a lot of different capabilities when you do a right click on a tab. So I can reopen close tabs, turn on vertical tabs from here. I even have more tools that I could do. But let me select. So I have these three tabs that are related to each other. I just selected all three of those by clicking on the one on the left. I held my shift key down and clicked on the one on the right. From here, I have the capability of being able to manage these tabs. You could see I can come in and I could actually manage all of these tabs at the same time. But what I want to do is I actually want them to be grouped together. I want to have these really as a tab group and give it a name. So I clicked the icon on the left-hand side. It brought up this new window. I don't want it to be called Edge. I'm going to actually name it, and I'm going to name it Microsoft Teams. So I could choose a color for the tabs as well. And what it does is it will color code those groups of tabs together. I can also, from this menu, ungroup them. I can move to a different window. I can add tab groups to a new collection. So just so you can see, you get a lot of other capabilities as well. But we can now have different tabs be a part of that group. So I can be moving tabs into that group that I just created. I could click and drag if I had a different tab, or if I wanted to create a new group, I could go to a new group and create another new group as well. I could have a tab be removed from the group. I could pin it to have it stay there. There's a lot of different things you could be doing with these different tabs. But something that I think can be very helpful is the vertical tabs. So if you decided that you actually want to turn your tabs into becoming vertical, you have multiple different ways that you could be doing vertical tabs as well. So we have the tabs, the Tab Actions menu at the top left that I can simply go to, and the first option is turn on vertical tabs. So instead of having my tabs go across the top, I can have them go down the left-hand side. So here's the tabs that are currently in my Microsoft Teams, but if I want something else to go in there or I want to take something out, it's a matter of clicking and dragging them. I can create a new tab group at any time from here as well. So I got to be honest with you, most of the time if I'm doing groups like this, tab groups, I use vertical tabs because they really go together. They're very easy to work together in. But you can always, of course, change your mind, and you can always put them back to being horizontal tabs. So if I go back to the menu at the top left, I have turn off vertical tabs, and it will put the tabs back at the top. So if you decide you don't want it, whatever the case might be, you definitely can change that. Okay. But another wonderful feature that I use very often is workspaces. Workspaces are going to be something that you can save and come back to, but the best, really kind of the key benefit for me is real-time collaboration being able to share the workspaces with my coworkers so that we can have a place that we can collaborate together. I used to use a shared notebook and different things like that, where I would take the URLs and copy and paste them of things that I wanted them to have access to. Well, when they brought workspaces into the picture here in Microsoft Word, I got it, or Microsoft Edge, I just love this. This to me is my favorite. So if I go to the top left of the browser, I have my workspaces icon. It looks like duplicate pieces of paper that are overlapping. I currently have 3 already saved. But if I wanted to do a brand new workspace, I click new and I could save the tabs that I currently have open to this workspace or just create a new one. I'm going to just create a new one. I'm going to give the workspace a name and I can choose a color for it. So let me say that I want to name this HR hiring process. I'm going to click done. So now I'm going to have this new workspace that I can be saving items to. You can see at the top left it says Edge Workspaces. It says a new way to browse, and it says reopen your workspaces at any time from the menu. Focus on what matters, separate your projects into different workspaces. The best part is we have the capability of being able to share these workspaces. So I'm in a totally different window of my browser. At the top left, you can see that it says HR hiring process. I'm going to click my home tab so it takes me to my Bing internet search. And let's say that I need to have, I want the latest descriptions of an IT interview questions. Latest descriptions of IT interview questions. If I go into an article about this and I start reading that article, it is part of this workspace by default. But if I had a tab on a different browser window that I wanted to have be a part of this as well, I can right click on that tab and have it be added to this as well. But just so you can see, if I go back to the top left to where it currently says HR hiring process, I can invite people to this workspace. I can edit the workspace. So if I wanted to give it a different name or a different color, or I could delete it. I'm going to click invite to workspace. I'm going to put in the name of the people that I want to invite. Or I could just copy a link and then paste it someplace where they would then have access to this as well. So if I were student 1 and I now can open up this workspace, which gives them a link, and if they click the link, by the way, it will automatically take them to the workspace. But if they're on a browser, if they're on their Microsoft Edge, they go to the top left, they will see this as being available to them, just so you're aware. So we can continue to collect different information, or whoever you share this with can be in this space as well, this workspace, and we could be working together collecting these items. So we have a lot of great capabilities here in Microsoft Edge for being able to collaborate with other people. Now, a collection doesn't allow us to share a link or email a link to someone. So that would be a little bit different, just so you're aware. But a lot of times when I'm in a space like this workspace, what if I have 2 tabs that I actually want to see side by side of each other? We do have the capability of doing what is referred to as a split window, similar to what we do with Word, PowerPoint, those other types of programs. If I go to the menu at the top right, this is going to be one way that I can access this icon called split screen. So I went to the ... at the top right. I'm going to click split screen. I have 2 tabs open right now. So what it just did was split the window in between those 2 tabs. I can open any site on either side and be able to see them together. I really like this. When it first was released, which it's been out for a while, I didn't use it. And then I saw somebody using it, and it's like, oh, that's so much easier because I want to stay in this workspace, but see two different things at the same time. I don't want to have two different browser windows open. I'm not doing window splitting. I just want to split these two sites. This to me was a great way to be able to do that. So just so you know, if I go to the top right, I can click on this X to close the split screen. So if I no longer want it split, I still have the capability of going back. But I still have two internet browser windows open because I had this window open and I went to a different workspace. So now I have the workspace window open as a different browser, well, the same browser, but a different window of the browser. Just so you know, if I go back to workspaces at the top left, I can see here's that workspace. But what if I wanted to go to this workspace called HR Hiring? It's going to automatically open that in a new window. And you can see, of course, the name at the top left, like we talked about it, but I can go back to the different tabs that I had available with that specific workspace. Now, of course, if somebody else was in this yesterday and they added a new tab, because this is a shared workspace with them, if they had added a new tab, there'd be a new tab here. So I really like the capability of being able to do these types of things. So these are some of the great features that we have, but there's also another feature that I am beginning to use quite often as well. You know how sometimes you're in a browser and you have all these other things going on. And right now, I really want to be focusing on these 8 steps to selection, the selection process, I should say, for hiring employees. There is the ability of being able to use what is referred to as Immerse Reader, where it's a distraction-free area. We do have text-to-speech capabilities. We have grammar tools that can be available. But just so you know, at the top right, it could be added. Oops, sorry. Pop-up came up. But I could add it as an icon to the top right. But I use the keyboard shortcut most of the time, which is actually going to be F9, where it will take the page that I'm currently on and turn it into an immersive reading. I don't want a bunch of other things on this window of where I'm at on this website right now. I want to have a distraction-free area. Plus, what it did at the top right was it gave me read aloud capabilities, text preferences, and reading preferences that I can go into as well, that I can be using for this specific page that I'm on. So if I want to have different column styles, I want to have different page themes, I want to use a different font for readability. You could see that as I'm clicking on these, and I could have different text space where the text is wider. I could have different text sizes. All of these great tools can be available if you're using this immersive reader capabilities. It's amazing what it is that we do have available when we are in Microsoft Edge. But there's more I want to talk about. Now, we do have the capability, by the way, and I'm just going to go to another site. And it doesn't matter which browser I'm in. I could be in this one. Whatever browser, whatever page I'm on, whatever it is that you're looking for, immersive reading is great to have. I just really like it. But there's a couple of other things that I want to mention, because what if I'm doing some information, I'm looking at some information and it's like, you know what, I really want a screenshot of that. You have screenshot capabilities in a lot of different places, but we do have screenshot option right at the top right, where we could do a capture of whatever it is on your screen. So it's that little looks like a little cutout with a scissors icon. When you do that, it automatically opens the screen capture capability for you. Then it brings up a menu for you to copy, save. You can make markup changes, or you could get visual searches based on the information with whatever it is that you screenshotted. So I can move the screenshot. Oh, I meant to go over here. Then I could copy it or do whatever I want. If I'm done with it, I click off and it automatically takes that screenshot away. But depending on what it is that you're doing, if you come in and select text, just click and drag over text, you can get different menu commands with that as well. Now, this is kind of scary to think. Most websites allow you to click and drag their text and copy it and paste it wherever you want to paste it. So some websites will be locked down where you won't be able to do that. But notice when I just selected these 2 paragraphs of data on this site, it brought up this menu where I could do a search. I could copy the information. I could ask Copilot about the information. I could go to more actions where it gives me a bigger menu where I even have translation capabilities directly from here because it's based on the text that I selected. So it has really a lot of capability of what it is that we could do when we select text from a site. I'm going to actually use Ask Copilot. Copilot is built in to Microsoft Edge. Depending on your licensing structure, I could even have the free Copilot and use it through Edge, where I don't pay for the account, but I am connected to my 365 account. I'm logged in as my business account, which has Copilot. So my profile at the top right, I am in a work account, not a personal account. And I have a license attached to it, so it's automatically using my license. But just so you can see, at the top of the chat window, the Copilot window that opened when I told it I wanted to analyze this basically in Copilot, I have work and web. Just like the regular Copilot does, I could be searching based on my work information, my account information, or I can be searching based on the web. Now, because I selected text when I came into Copilot, it automatically is giving me information about that article. So you could see, thanks, Jolyn. Here's a summary of the key points from this article you're viewing about managing teams in Microsoft Teams at Admin Center. So it's giving me a summary of that actual site. Now, I could go to a different site. Like, let's say that I go into this site and I need to get some information. And I'm just going to close Copilot for a minute. I'm not going to select text or anything. I'm just on this page and I'm reading different information about the new storyline post capabilities that we have in a chat in Teams. And if I want to have Copilot help me with information on this website, or use it for anything, at the top right, I can click the Copilot icon. It's going to automatically open Copilot. And from here, you could see that it says Teams profile, accessing your Teams. It's got information at the top here, which is based on what it is that article was that I was reading before. So that's previous historical information. But down at the bottom, I have prompt suggestions. Try it with the work tab, how to assign owners, explain setting expiration policies. But I want to know about this. I want to know about the page that I'm on. I'm going to say summarize current page. It will look at the page that I'm actively on and give me a summary based on that page. If I needed to find information, I could use it as my search tool. And I like searching with Copilot better than any of my other search engines. Whether you're using Dogpile, you're using Bing, doesn't matter what it is you're using for your search engine. Copilot is going to give you more of a summarization of whatever you search by instead of going to Dogpile or whatever and searching where you're going to end up with millions of results. But I wanted it to take a look at this page that I'm on and give me a summary of it. So here's what it gave me back. Now, do I want to use this information? Because I'm in Copilot, I get my copy command down at the bottom. And then I could paste it wherever I want it to go. Or I could continue a conversation with Copilot about the page that I'm on. So we can be very interactive with Copilot by doing these types of things. But I want to go to my home page. I'm going to go to my home icon at the top left of my browser. And I have that set up as going to Bing as my search. And let's say that I need to search for some more information. HR hiring process for marketing departments. And I come up with all these great information. Well, you notice that up at the top, I can see what I'm searching for, and there's over 4 million results. Let me use Copilot to search for that same thing. I'm going to go to the right-hand side. I'm going to go into my Copilot window, and I'm going to search for HR hiring process for marketing departments. Instead of doing it in a search engine, I'm going to do it in Copilot instead. I don't use a search engine for searching as much as I do Copilot, because look at the results. I don't have over 4 million results when I'm doing the searching here. Instead, it's going to break it apart. So here's a comprehensive summary of the HR process, blah, blah, blah. Here's aligning, using marketing techniques for recruiting, defining the ideal candidate. It's breaking things down for me into, this one gave me 6 different categories, as opposed to what you would get with that 4 million plus results. That's overwhelming. It's whoever paid to have theirs at the top is all you're going to see. Here, it's searching the internet for you. So whatever you put in for the prompt, the more detailed you get, the better it's going to be for the results that you're going to get. But what if I want to be using Copilot right here in Edge to look for information that's on my computer? I can go to the tab at the top, just like I do in the Copilot app, and I can click to switch it to work searching. It's going to search my Microsoft account instead. And what if I wanted to have it actually search for information on my computer already about an HR hiring process? I'm going to put that same description. It's searching my Microsoft account information as opposed to the web, searching the entire internet. So we have built-in capabilities into Microsoft Edge as a browser that you're not going to find in other browsers. If you have been with other browser companies using their browser for a long time and you really didn't try Edge, now is your time. By using Edge, you are connected to your Microsoft account. Even if you don't have Copilot, it is a part of your Microsoft account. So you can have connectivity by using some of these features that we were talking about previously. Even if I'm using collections and I want to have an Excel file part of my collection, I'm using workspaces and I want to share this information with a coworker, we are connected. So switch over if you're using a different one. Give these features a try. Use this handout to kind of go back through, what exactly was collections? What were the benefits of tab groups? What were the things that we were talking about when it came to workspaces? Go back through those features and try using them. See if they're going to be things that will be beneficial for you to use. And of course, 100% use Copilot. If you have a Copilot license and you're a Microsoft 365 user, you definitely want to be using Microsoft Edge so that you have all of that directly built in. Okay, so just to kind of summarize what it is that we were just talking about, I cannot say enough about using these tools. Start out in your settings though. Okay, start out in your settings because we have a lot of settings that you may not be seeing all of that same functionality, that same capability. If the features are not turned on, you may not be seeing them. Okay, so highly recommend doing the settings first. All right. So Matthew, I'm going to bring it back to you. Did we have any questions come through from the group today?